Welcome back everyone. In this episode I'm going to be forging a hot set, which is basically a chisel on the end of a handle. Really good tool to use, and saves your hand from burning a lot if you're working big material. What I started with is a leaf spring, 130mm long, 30 by 30 wide. And what I'm going to do is mark a line 35mm from one end, and I'm going to repeat that on the opposite side, and then do a center line and then repeat that on the opposite side as well. Then I'm going to measure the width of my punch, and then I'm going to mark a line. But if you had a one with a point on the center of your punch, then obviously you measure the width and then measure the center. And then I punch these here just so that I can line up my punch when I bring it out of the fire, and I can see it a little bit easier when it's glowing, so I can locate my punch a bit quicker. So mark both sides. As you can see, this one's 35mm from the end. Done. So bring her out of fire. First hit is not hard. You do not want to be punching this thing. You just want to be marking it, little feather touch, and then it's easier to hit it softer, just in case you get it in the wrong way or in the wrong position. And then the next few blows will come harder and harder until you know your center. And then you repeat that on both sides until you've located your hole. And then you keep your punch vertical, all nice and level. Everything's held down securely because I'm working on my own. Just to hold down. And then you carry on punching. And what I do is I'll keep turning it over, working it equally. And I'll punch through to the middle, turn it over, punch through to the middle again. And then when I know it's sheared off in the middle, I'll drive that little nugget all the way through. And I just use powdered scale and little iron filings for my lubrication. Keep my tool cold all the time. I hit once and then I cool it down, hit once, cool it down. And then when it's nearly ready, you put it over the hardy hole or any hole you got, and keep going until the little nugget comes out. There it is. Just placed it on the side. So now you got your hole all the way through. Just needs drifting open now. So what I got is a specific tool. It's a taper drift, and it's tapered all four sides going down to a point. So I'll drive this through when it's nice and hot. I won't drive it all the way through, I'll do it each side bit by bit as I go. You gotta work it slowly but steadily, just so it's all equal. And then what you'll notice me doing is I'll work all edges of that hardy hole, just so my cheeks don't drop into the hardy hole where one side gets worked more than the other, because you want to support all the sides really. Unless you had a bolster plate, then you just put a bolster plate underneath it, and then you won't lose as much trueness in it. But you want to keep taking it out, working both sides. At this stage you don't want to take it all the way to the size of the hole that you want, because we still got to do the forging. So we'll do the forging of the taper, nice simple easy work, and then come back and redo the eye to the size that we need and the shape that we need for the wedge to be able to work. So working both sides of the holy hole so that they got equal support in a way, and then I'll turn it round. Always trying to work it even. Give it a little tap. So now the hole's enough for me to work with from now. I'll just take the corners off of the striking end of the hot set, and the other end will be the taper to the chisel. So you don't need this to be really tapered, you're just knocking off the corners. And if you get any fish lipping like I have here, I just take it off with a rasp or a file. Do that when it's nice and hot. It takes less than half a heat, or you could do it at the end of a heat. So I equal them all up, equal all four sides up, and then I'll planish the faces in. Just a slight taper. Keep the cheeks and the eye of the hot set off of the anvil. This will stop any distortion and any unwanted bending, and it's good practice. So that's pretty much all you need. Straighten it out. Keep it always keep it true. After every heat you want to straighten it. And then what I'm doing here is just putting a square taper on it. But you can see my mistake. I've worked one side more than the other, which has ended up in fish lipping. If you're working all four sides, really I should have been turning it 180 degrees, then turn it 90 degrees, then another 180 degrees, so you're always working the opposite sides. So what I did with this is, after this heat was finished and I couldn't hit it anymore and the heat had gone, I took it and rasped the end off, because it fish lipped just enough, but it didn't have no inclusions or anything like that, or any slight cracks. You want to get rid of this straight away. So now I've rasped the end off, all I'm going to do is start a taper now. So my chisel point taper side, which is with the eye facing up or down, the one I'm working now, I will work that flat and then let it spread out at the end, and then push it back in. These sides have to be parallel, and then work the taper again. And you want to work this like you're squeezing a tube of toothpaste. You're trying to get that last little bit out of it. You squeeze it from the back and then you push it towards the tip. So if you work it nice and hot, it moves pretty fast, moves pretty easily, and you can get to a taper in no time at all. This one didn't really need to be this long, even probably 110 millimeters long, that would have been enough. But this means I can go into bigger pieces of steel. But yeah, just keep working the taper down, and just remember what you do on one side, the anvil's doing on exactly the same on the other side. And then your sides will be squashing out, so you just push them back in. You work the centre, and then you work your edges, and then every time you work one edge, the edges that are on a 90 degree to that edge will bulge out, so you've got to push that back in, and so on and so on. So I'm just roughing this out with the hammers, and then I'm going to put a flatter on it take all the rises and all the falls out, so it'd be nice and shiny and really flat, symmetrical and true. So every time I'm not hitting it, I'm looking at straightness. I'm looking if it's true and if I should carry on forging it. Because the more you can keep that tool straight, the easier it's going to be in the end. Always working with the eye and the cheeks off of the anvil as well, which is really good practice, because if you're working on something and you need it to stay the same shape but you can't cool it off, then it's good to be able to practice keeping it off the anvil. So now you see the shiny bits are my highest bits, the duller bits are my lowest bits. So what I do is, when I'm working that sort of work, is I just aim for the shiny bits. They won't be shiny when they're hot, but when you're putting it back in the fire, you remember where that shiny bit is, take it out and give it a clout. So now I'll just work the eye, so I'm getting my section down so I know what I'm working from, what I'm going to be tapering from, and then keeping it flat at the same time. If you haven't got a flatter, you can use plate, like something like a 1/2 inch plate or something. You probably end up bending it, but you still can get a flat surface, and the anvil does the other work for you. So we're getting there. Now ready for the flatter proper. Again, the cheeks and the eye off of the anvil, running down each side, and then I'll turn that 180 degrees, work the other side. You always work the thickest part first, you leave the thinnest part. If there's any bulges and you know they're higher than the others, then go for that. So now I've got to straighten this a little bit, so I'll give it a couple of taps just to straighten it out and bring the tip up a little bit. Don't go hitting that like 4 or 5 times or anything, just a couple of taps. So now I've run the flatter over, it's given me my shiny points that I can follow. So the shiny bits I just take down. I literally just work them bits, and then obviously it's going to bulge out the sides, so I'll planish the sides, I'll push them back in, and then all the time you're doing that, the taper's getting longer and thinner. So you'll find the balance after a while, how much to work the top and the sides will give you your taper. Just work the sides, work the edges, always pushing it to the front, to the cutting edge. So we're not far off it now, we've got quite a good shape. I just want to bring that taper up a bit more towards the eye. You can straighten it over the hardy hole. And you just keep it tidy as you go, keep it true as you go. It just makes it a lot easier. And again, it's good practice. So we're not too far off now, we're nearly there, a little bit more flatter work. So we're getting less shiny spots now. So give it a good clean up when you can. The brush I use is dying, so it's pretty much lost all his spines. And then we run the flatter over. But I work the thicker part more than the edge because it's thicker, and I know it's thicker because the tip of the chisel isn't touching the anvil. If it's touching the anvil, it would be a flat line. So it'd be straight. It'd be a straight edge. So what I do is I work the bit behind it flat until it touches the anvil, and then work towards the tip. That way I'll have a straight line all the way down. And it's exactly the same with forging with a hammer. So again, keeping the cheeks and the eye off the anvil, I'll work it down. A little bit cold, so get another heat, keep it clean, get your flatter on it, or your piece of flat steel, flat plate, and just run it along. And now it's flat to the anvil, so the section's parallel all the way down in exactly the same steepness. And just keep going, tidying it up. I'm not hitting it hard here, I'm literally just glancing blows just to take any high spots for the last few times flatters. And I'm getting my edge to the thickness that I want. I don't want to take this too thin. Probably it's about 4mm wide. And then when you're happy with it, you want to, this is the time to make the eye the size that you want it. So I've got a line on my drift. So what I'll do is I'll drift it down. Yeah, not too far off now. And then I'll drift from the other side. And I'll keep going and going, swapping either side, and then drifting it through until I hit that line. And give it a little planish on the side so it comes off a bit easier. And heat it up again, and then do exactly the same thing on the other side, and then by the time that heat ends I should be able to tidy the other side up as well. So go down to the line, nearly there. Right, when you reach your line, take it out. So that's that side of the hole 99% done. Planish the sides. Get her out. You see she's slightly off. And when you're doing this, always go to the edges of the hardy hole. Keep it all even. It's ready for another flatter run. It's pretty much there. So that flatter run, I just take that little kink out. As always, work opposite sides. This is the time to get a wire brush on it. If I had a decent one, I would have. And I only tap that in just to take any burrs off that we may have caused off when we was flattening it. do the other side, one tap, take them out. That's job done. Make sure it's all straight and true. And your edge is how you want the edge, how thin you want it. If it's the right length and everything. Any bits that you need doing, do them now. And then when you're happy with it, you want to let it nail. So I let it in the forge, let it stay in there all night, cool down overnight. And then the next day, warmed it back up, normalised it. So it's nice and soft. And then what you want to do is just take a file to it quickly. Get it so it's 90 degrees. And you've got a nice right angle. And if it's not, take it off a little bit. And then you want to take your burrs off. Make sure everything's all level and equal, so that when you put your cutting edge on it, you're only working half and half. And you're not trying to fight a centre line. So because this is going to be for bigger metal, I'm going to need it to go deeper quicker. So I put a steep angle on it. But if I was cutting like flat metal, I'd put a shallower angle on it. So easy tool to make, really easy tool. What was it? A punched hole, a little eye, and then a chisel taper point. That's it. Nothing less, nothing more. Pretty basic techniques. But obviously, make sure your steel is what you need it to be. And that's it. That's how I make it. So now he's ready for hardening and tempering. And putting a handle on it. Let's stay tuned for that, because that's coming out now. So I put it into the forge, tip in first, slowly heat this up till it goes cherry red, and then it's non-magnetic. Cherry red to me is probably a low orange. Well, basically it won't take a magnet when it's in the right state. So you harden the tip, rub it down with either a grindstone or a bit of sandpaper or a file, so you make it shiny. Then you'll be able to see the colours run through. I think I did like a dark straw, and then plunged it all the way in when it hit that on the tip. And then I got my temper. So with this you want to follow the grain of the wood. So the grain of the wood was going that way, so I put my head on that way. And then you want to centralise it the best you can. You can measure it or you can feel it with your fingers. You can have someone looking at it and telling you what you're doing. I just like to feel it. Then you want to mark it out so you know where to put the saw, you know where to cut it. So you've got it all marked out, and then when you come to cut it, you don't want to cut on the lines, you want to cut to the side of the line so that you got a line remaining, so you always know what line to work up to, because you want this to be a tight fit. You don't want it to just slide into your hot set. You want to have to be able to hit it in. See, look, I leave the lines but go down the side. Then take it probably ½ inch past the depth of your hot set, so you've got a bit sticking out so you can drive the wedge in. Then take it down. Better off drawing a line around the handle, but I didn't. And you put a little ledge on it if you're doing it this way, if you've got the same shape as me, or you do it to whatever shape the eye of your hammer is. Make the wood fit, you don't make the eye fit. It's easier to shape wood than metal. So it's a nice tight fit, he's ready to be banged in. But first of all you need to slot for a wedge. So that's what we're going to do next. We're going to mark the centre, and we're going to saw down just shy of the shoulders. So they're not all the way down to the shoulders, just shy of it. There you go. Clean any burrs off or anything. Or if it's still really tight and you don't think it'll go in, take a little bit more off. But don't get carried away. If you chamfer the edges as well, the tool seems to slide on a bit better and it doesn't split as much. So this is ready to be banged in. What I'd recommend is putting a bit of linseed oil on it before you do this, and then bang it in, because then when the linseed oil is in there, it's only got one way to go out, which is through the wood. So what you want to do is just bang this in. You want this tight, you want this snug up to the corner, like, you know. Get it really in there. And there you go, you've got your little bit sticking out. And then you drive your wedge in. I did start filming this wedge, but the memory card ran out. So I grab another one quickly. And you drive the wedge in. And it went so far, and then it split. It was already about an inch in, so there's plenty in there, plenty of wedge. Cut off the excess, made it as straight as I can, then filed it off just to make it smooth. And then used a bit of sandpaper, and then got my wedge. It's just a standard wedge. Went cross, opposite, corner to corner, across the grain and across my wedge. I'm not sure if this is 100% right how you're supposed to do it, but it seems to work really well for me. So what I do now is I cover this in linseed oil, and I get that wood to swell out a bit more as well, taking anything it can. But if you did it before you did that, then it's better. So just give it a good clean up before you give it an oil. What I did with this is I rammed the wedge in a bit more and shaved it off at the end. But thanks a lot for watching, guys and girls.